We're bringing you an update. So, a black farmer or black farmers are turned away from the White House farmers meeting due to DEI. That's not the way it's supposed to work. But here it is.
But when I tried to attend the president's farm meeting that he had several weeks ago at the White House, there wasn't one black farmer at the table. As a matter of fact, there wasn't one black person in the room. And they told me I couldn't attend the White House meeting, something about they were moving away from DEI. I'm talking to you from my farm. There's no DEI on my farm. You know, my cattle eat the same amount of hay. My tractor burns the same amount of diesel fuel, and I have to be able to produce a crop here just like everybody else.
I'm sorry, what? There was a farm meeting at the White House. You tried to go. Were you there physically? Did they turn you away at the door? Or
the farm community is a very small community. So people were telling me that there was going to be a farm meeting. And I reached out to the White House to attend, and that's the feedback that they got. In fact, they said they were moving away from the black farmer issue. They were moving away from DEI and the small farmer issue, and they were focusing on large-scale white farmers and corporate farmers because they produce the most food, is what this administration said.
They are moving away from the black farmer issue. Let me tell you first about the black farmer issue. It's rooted in racism, so of course they don't want you to know that. My dad was a black farmer. And my dad explained the story to me when he received, roughly in the early 2000s, he received a settlement check. Dr. Joseph Lowery was involved in their advocacy. It was because the federal government years ago actively discriminated against providing loans and subsidies to black farmers in favor of white farmers, drying up the black farmer industry by design. That is the black farmer issue. Permeations of that have continued since. All right, it's not required, okay? But in order to get access to the 12 billion, all of a sudden, the one thing that black farmers typically do not do is the one thing that is required in order to get the 12 billion. You understand the setup, okay? All right. During a recent, many times when there's a rule like this for funding to an industry, especially the number one industry in the world. What's the number one industry in the world? Agriculture. Agriculture is the number one industry on the planet Earth.
Well, the twice impeached, criminally convicted commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, met today at the White House and spoke to 800 farmers. He attempted to reassure them, claiming that everything is fine and that they should be thankful for taxpayer handouts designed to mitigate the impact of his tariff policies. You know, the same thing that happened the last time when taxpayers, money with $25 billion went to farmers because of his tariffs and his screw-ups. Well, speaking from the White House Truman balcony, he addressed what he called the single largest gathering of American farmers the White House has ever seen. He promoted new policies he argued would save farmers money and help them stay in business despite rising input costs caused by his own actions.
Field. I'm giving you a field that goes like this. Makes it a lot easier for you, the things that we've done. And to further help farmers recovering from the Biden catastrophe, we use money taken from tariffs. The tariffs, we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars from the tariffs. And as I said, we gave you $12 billion in farm relief. And that happened just recently because you were hurt by certain countries unfairly. And I said you were unfairly hurt, and we gave you $12 billion, and that made up for it. I'm also asking Congress to quickly pass the new farm bill, and today I'm promising to request additional farm relief for our great patriots in the next funding bill. So we have you taken care of in both instances, and we're pushing very hard for the new farm bill.
Okay, he also said this idiotic thing. Anthony, go to my iPad.
That the White House has ever seen, has ever had. And rain or shine, and you don't mind rain, shine. The one thing about farmers, they don't care about that weather. They get out there, it makes no difference. But rain or shine, no one has more grit or greater spirit than the American farmer. We love the American farmer. I just gave you $12 billion. I don't know if you know that or not. You make enough money, it doesn't matter to you, right? But we just provided $12 billion, right, Brooke, for the American farmer. You think Biden would have done that? No, he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, because Biden would have destroyed them with these stupid tariffs. John Boyd is the president, National Black Farmers Association. Glad to have you on the show, John. Were you invited to this gathering?
Absolutely not. You know, I wasn't invited, but I certainly invited myself, Roland. So I sent the emails as soon as I heard that they were having this gathering. I sent the emails to the White House, and of course, they didn't invite me. Roland, this man had the audacity to put a gold tractor out on the White House lawn when we got 190 black farmers losing their farms out here, 190. And then he said, you know what? Go to the SBA and borrow some money. While we got 190 black farmers facing farm foreclosures due to this president's tariffs, due to this president's war where we're spending $1 billion a day. And not only that, he was touting how much money he made from the tariffs while we paid for the tariffs. The farmers were the one that paid for the tariffs.
Right.
He paid for the parts that came in, and we lost the money due to lost income, all by this president's policies. So I sat there and watched that, and he said, he had 800 farmers out on the White House lawn, but didn't invite any black farmers. Like, we don't contribute to America's agriculture fabric. You know, what an insult to our people here. And this is something that these white farmers keep supporting. This man is laughing in their face. And a lot of those farmers out there in that audience, Roland, I can almost promise you that they're facing foreclosure too. So this is a farm crisis, and he's up there talking about the golden jubilee and got a gold tractor. And it sounded like he kept saying 2 or 3 times, go out and buy a new tractor, Roland, while we got black farmers who can't meet their financial obligations. They're behind on their mortgages and farm operating loans and farm equipment loans. And this president is out there saying, oh yeah, go out and buy some new tractors. How offensive to these farmers, man.
I had to go.
And guess what? On top of that, we got diesel fuel, right here in my hometown, man. $6 a gallon while he's touting how good a shape America's farmers in. They got money, they don't need money and all this stuff. Fertilizer is up 40%. 40%. For people to understand that, $140 a ton to $200 a ton for the real good fertilizer, all due to this president's war. So we're not in bad shape because of something that we did. We're in bad shape because of this president's policies, and he's still talking about Biden did it. Biden didn't impose tariffs. This is his baby. This is his thing that he put into place, and now he wants the American taxpayer to bail him out,
This gentleman is farmer John Boyd Jr. He has a farm in Boynton, Virginia. Listen to this, please. Documents from a USDA internal review that Boyd provided to the Associated Press show investigators found his operating loan requests were not processed for years, despite explicit instructions from the agency's state director. Listen to this. Just 2 generations out of being enslaved, by 1910, black farmers had amassed more than 16 million acres of land and made up about 14% of farmers. The fruit of their labors fed much of America. Now they have fewer than 4.7 million acres. Black farms in the U.S. plummeted from 925,000 to fewer than 36,000, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's latest farm census. And only about 1 in 100 farmers is black. What happened? Well, they were able to overcome the broken promise of 40 acres and a mule to the newly freed enslaved, a military order later rescinded. But again and again over the last century, they faced one obstacle after another because of their race. Lenders, chief among them the USDA, often refused to give them money and often rushed to foreclose. Suppliers and customers undercut them. Laws of inheritance led to the breakup of their homesteads. Now, the government wants to make amends by providing billions of dollars in debt forgiveness for farmers of color. About damn time. But a judge has put the money on hold in the face of lawsuits filed by white farmers claiming that the program is unfair. Reverse discrimination. What the motherfuck? Oh my God, come on, white people.
I think we can all agree that some of the biggest victims when it comes to these trade policies and policies that have been enacted by Donald Trump since he came to office are farmers, or majorly farmers have really taken a strong hit. And we've been hearing a lot of noise from farmers, especially crying about the situation, but we could be missing out on something. Certainly, there's something that we are not getting a lot of highlight about, and this is black farmers. Because we are seeing farmers, and especially white MAGA-aligned farmers, coming out, speaking loudly, protesting, complaining about the economic damage caused by Donald Trump's reckless trade policies, the tariffs, the trade wars, the instability. It's hitting them hard, and suddenly they have a voice, But let's slow this down for a minute, because the real question is not why they are speaking, actually, is why they are surprised, because we know of people that are not as surprised with everything that's going on here. These are people that believed firmly, that the system would protect them. So that is why they are surprised that their own system has turned against them, that no matter what policies would be enacted, they would be shielded, Why? Because in their minds, one of their own is the one, in office, holding power. The expectation for them was protection, and not what we are seeing with them today. So now that the fire that they elected or they helped to start is burning their own fields, now they are speaking. But then here's something deeper, while the farmers are focused, while the cameras and their highlight is focused on these MAGA farmers crying out, there is another group that's usually barely mentioned, and that is black farmers. So why are we not highlighting the plight of farmers, of black farmers, as much? Maybe it is time we also gave them the spotlight to know what is happening with them exactly. Are they comfortable? Now, let's listen in more.
The level of determination that has been dedicated to try to ensure that Black Americans do not thrive is not by accident. And that is the reason why Black farmers are being shut out again. While the Trump administration rolls out financial lifelines for white farmers, Black farmers are being left out, overlooked, and pushed closer to extinction. And if it weren't for people like John Boyd Jr. sounding the alarm, this story would stay buried in the soil. Let's talk about history. Black farmers once owned 14 13% of United States farmland. Today, less than 1.3%. How, Sway? I'll tell you. Generational land theft, discriminatory USDA policies, and a long history of being denied access to the very tools white farmers receive as default. And now, in 2025, the Trump administration is doubling down, offering federal farm credits, subsidies, and contracts almost exclusively to white farmers. And they're doing it in broad daylight. John Boyd Jr. has entered the chat.
My name is John Boyd, founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association.
John Boyd Jr., a fourth-generation American farmer, is out here telling the truth.
You need to rise up and speak out now, not later, because if we don't, they're going to continue to take this country down a pathway that is going to take decades to get away from.
He says it clearly. It's not that we don't want to farm, it's that the system doesn't want us to succeed. Let's be clear. This is not about charity. This is about fairness, about access, about survival. The federal numbers don't lie. In 2021, the Trump administration handed out $26 billion in pandemic farm relief. Black farmers received 0.01% of this relief fund. And in 2025, with new rounds of credits going out, the same pattern is repeating. White farmers are getting bailed out. Black farmers are getting boxed out.
I'm looking for $5 billion in debt relief, and I'm asking the Federal Court of Appeals to reverse the decision and grant 17,000 Black and other farmers of color 120% debt relief.
The stakes are higher than food. This isn't just about crop yields or subsidies. This is about land, food justice, generational wealth, and the right to live and work with dignity. Black farmers aren't asking for special treatment. They're asking for equal footing. We can't keep letting politicians toss our people aside while offering refuge and resources to others. Not because they're in greater danger, but because they fit a preferred political narrative. If we care about sustainability, food security, or economic justice, we cannot leave Black farmers out of the conversation. Their legacy is American history. Their land is American land, and their fight deserves our full support.
So a brother took the TikTok to inform Black TikTok that there were some Black farmers down in Georgia being harassed by white people down there in Georgia.
Hey family, listen, there is a Black-owned farm here in Georgia that has been being terrorized by white folk.
So I said, I went down this rabbit hole to try to figure out who they were, but he made a separate video to update everybody who they were, right?
Update, I found out it's Tiffany's Farms. Tiffany's Farms is the farm down in Hampton, Georgia, or Barnesville, Georgia. I believe it's Barnesville. She might have two locations, you never know.
So I go on their YouTube page and I scroll down, probably like the third or fourth video down. They made a video responding to him, basically saying that, in little to no words, that he was spreading misinformation.
We're going to talk about the fact that in this young man's video, he stated that some of the people that we have a problem with has been killing our animals. So we don't have animals on the property. So we want to create the facts about what's really going on the property, for we don't have no misunderstanding going forward, you know?
Yes, we need our people to be on the same page and not to have any misunderstandings, because this is something that involves some seriousness, you know, and we need facts to be out there, not any inflated stories or, you know, alternative facts. We just need to make sure that we are being factual. The only people that...
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what misinformation? So something simple as, I think he said something like a dog or something, they was unaliving their animals. Kind of find out that wasn't true, but everything else was definitely true. They are definitely being harassed by white people down there, okay?
This is our second fire that we're dealing with. So if you can remember, we had a first fire and they had this whole area right here messed up. Everything was burnt to a crisp.
For us to stop certain individuals from encroaching on our property.
Let's find out.
Oh, okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
They keep bringing the dogs over to the property, keep peeking over the fence. It's like they're really hyper fixated and hyper focused on us. We're over here working. As you can see in the majority of our videos, other than us having to explain the level of difficulties and adversities that we're experiencing, we are always working.
Now, I'm going to say this as respectful as I can. She said out of her mouth on this video that she kindly declines those Black men coming down there to camp out with tents on her property with massive pew-pews. She said that she would prefer to do it the legal way.
You don't have to go that route. We can do things that's more legal. That's how I feel about it. So
Yeah.
Whatever that is. She made sure she put emphasis on doing it the legal way. She said she does not want any black men out there camping out, setting bear traps, because I believe a few black men called her to try to, help her with security and everything. And she said that she kindly declined it. She doesn't want that type of chaos on her property.
all that stuff about, different people coming on the property to give assistance and to talk to us directly, that never happened. And we did turn down ones that had that kind of like militia talk. Like,
She said militia talk.
you're gonna come out here, they're gonna set some bear traps, and then they're gonna come out here with these big ARs and all this other stuff. We was like, no, I answered that. I talked to my dad about it. I always read things to him prior to answering, especially when there's men involved with it and they're coming at an aggressive, like, you gotta do it, you gotta work with us. No, I don't have to. We don't have to go that route. We can do things that's more legal. That's how I feel about it. So
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Do you think these people care about you doing it the legal way as if you're going to get any type of assistance the legal way? These people are illegally trespassing on your property, and you have the right to protect yourself and or your property. Don't be naive. And this is the problem. This is why collectively we cannot come together. This is why collectively it is hard for us to be on one page and be in alignment with one another and unify. You are making it known to the world. That video has almost 100,000 views. You are making it known to the world that you do not want the assistance of armed black men that can protect you and your elderly father. And that is dangerous. Absolutely dangerous.
Well, listen, a couple of things here, okay? Because according to the reporting, Trump offers, this is a New York Times report, Trump offers South African farmers expedited citizenship. The president falsely claimed on social media that the South African government was confiscating farmland, echoing previous statements that the country was mistreating white people. The United States will immediately start offering a rapid pathway to citizenship for South African farmers, President Donald Trump said in a social media post on Friday, falsely claiming that South Africa's government was confiscating their land, and much worse than that. And that's a quote from him. The post largely echoed what Mr. Trump has previously said about South Africa, including in an executive order last month in which he suspended all American aid to the country and offered refugee status to Afrikaners, a white ethnic minority. Now, this is something I interviewed Elon Musk last year. He mentioned that in our interview. And here it is. Listen.
South Africa, I mean, look at what happened with apartheid. It seems to me that you should be someone who is more understanding of that, considering where you came from, considering your history.
Yeah. There's a slow white genocide going on in South Africa. Do you care about that?
And they want to take the land that you believe that it belongs to black farmers and give it to white South African farmers. How do people feel about that? Are white farmers even okay with that in America?
I don't know, but I can tell you right now, Don, I won't stand for it. And this president is sitting here doing that, and he says he loves farmers and wants us a merit base. The first thing he can do is settle Boyd versus USA and return the land to black farmers and other farmers of color, the 17,000 black and other farmers of color. If he says he really loves farmers, instead he wants to bring white farmers in. The people who've been clearly discriminated and documented throughout history here in the United States are black farmers, capital B. Black farmers that look like me, my father, my John Boyd Sr., Thomas Boyd, all these people paid the piper to own land and farm in this country. And this president won't return the land here in federal inventory to black farmers, but he wants to bring white farmers who he says is facing discrimination in South Africa, of all places, and bring them to the United States and give them a pathway to citizenship and land and a homestead, things he won't do for black farmers right here in the United States. Shame on this.
You said what?
Shame on it. Complete.
Yeah. Look, this isn't the first time that you dealt with MAGA and Donald Trump, and what you said were racist tactics. There's an interview that we did back in 2019, I believe, where this racist message, I think it was the N-word, was was scrolled or written on a garbage can outside of your farm. Here it is in part of that interview. Watch.
John Boyd Jr. is a Virginia farmer and president of the National Black Farmers Association and a critic of the president's trade policies. Policies that caused China to retaliate with stiff penalties on goods like soybeans, hurting American farmers. Well, this week, Boyd found himself the victim of a shocking incident. He found the N-word plastered on a trash bin at the entrance of his farm. And John Boyd Jr. joins me now. Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Don, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So why do you think you were targeted?
Well, basically, I think it's more of retaliation from the Trump administration, and it's retaliation from my strong positions against the tariffs. And the tariffs have really hurt farmers like myself and other small-scale farmers and African-American farmers who haven't received their subsidy payments from the government. And the president has made a whole lot of promises, but very few of those things have reached farmers like myself. So every time I hear him making another announcement about more tariffs and more bailout money, it means bad news for farmers like myself. And you know, Don, it takes a lot of effort to go out and make a crop. And basically what we're looking for is a fair price for our commodity. And the president took away a 90% market for American farmers, soybean farmers, and they didn't open up other trade doors. And that's something that his U.S. trade representative could have worked on. The agriculture secretary should have been working on making more open markets for farmers like myself. And I've reached out to the president and asked him to meet about this. I reached out to the secretary, the agriculture secretary, and asked for a meeting. And Bloomberg asked him about my formal request to meet with them, the agriculture secretary. And he says, oh, well, I meet with black farmers, you know, while I'm out in my travels. But he hasn't met in a formal capacity. And I think that that's very disheartening.
Look, you don't need me. You can just keep talking for as much as I'm concerned, because, I mean, what you're saying is very compelling. I just have a couple questions for you. One, in all your years, did you ever have anything like this happen to you so boldly and so brazenly before you started speaking out about these policies?
Nothing like this. I have been called the N-word by agriculture secretary officials in the past, but Don, that was in 1998. And here we are in the year 2019, and when we turned into our farm and we saw that, and, you know, we have children and they saw those awful words printed there. You know, the president ought to speak out against this. Here you have African American. I've been on CNN before, you know, speaking about these kinds of things. The president should condemn that type of racial epithet printed anywhere in these United States. The president needs to show leadership on race and bring this country together. But yet and still the country is so far divided on race because the president of the United States doesn't do enough to bring us together. He's hurting our country right now.
Okay, John.
So yes, black farmers exist. They have always been there. They have fed America and the world. And historically, they have faced far worse when it comes to, you know, these problems in the US. Systematic discrimination to even land theft to exclusion from federal support. So when policies like these hit, they don't just react with shock like MAGA farmers are doing. They react with recognition, you know, because this isn't new for black farmers, you know. That's why you're not hearing as much noise, not because they're not suffering, not because they're comfortable, but because they already understood the nature of the system in question, of the system they are dealing with. And there was no illusion for them at the very beginning. You know, they tried to highlight, to warn everybody, but people didn't listen. That's the uncomfortable truth, you know. While some farmers are experiencing this as a sudden betrayal, you know, there are many farmers, especially and obviously black farmers, that have lived in that reality of betrayal and much more than that for, you know, for generations, you know. So when we see white MAGA farmers crying today, we have to ask, Are they the primary victims, by the way? Are they really the exact target of this system? Or are they simply experiencing a fraction of what others have always endured, or what others are actually enduring at the moment? Because what we might actually be witnessing here, and there could be a good possibility, maybe they're just a collateral damage. They're just loud, but they might not even be the primary target of this administration. Maybe the target is black farmers. But then, white supremacy always operates in this way. They are ready to sacrifice some of their own, so as long as they hit the target, For them, they don't care losing some of their own, if that is what it takes to target black people. If a system is built in a way that it can harm even those it claims to protect, then imagine, just imagine what it does to those that has always consistently ignored, targeted, and betrayed and oppressed. That's the real conversation here. That's the real conversation. I don't think it's given as much highlights. And if it gets, it gets even more serious when you remember this. If leadership is willing to implement policies that damage their own people, their own base, the MAGA farmers who are waving the flags and singing and shouting at the top of their voices for this administration, what restraint can that administration have? Can they do when it comes to, the people they have always criticized, vilified, or dismissed? There is none. If they can oppress their own, what about the people they have always been oppressing? It means they're in a way critical situation. Right now, it's not just to amplify the voices that are already being heard, but to bring forward the voices that might be getting overlooked, that are missing in the spotlight. Black farmers need to be part of this conversation. Their struggles needs visibility as well. Their experiences under the Trump administration, they need to be documented and exposed, not as an afterthought, but they are a central piece of this story as well. Because if we don't highlight it, it will be buried in the noise, in the ignorance, and history has shown us that silence is always the friend of these systems of oppression. When people can speak against it, then they get comfortable with it. So yes, farmers are hurting, and yes, people are speaking out, but let's not just listen to the loudest of voices, to those that the camera is always shining upon. Let's also pay attention to the quiet ones too, because sometimes they're not quiet out of comfort. They are quiet because they have seen this storm before, and so they just are not even speaking out. So let's also highlight their plight. That's my take on this. Let me know what you think about this. Share with me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up as usual. And if you're new here, welcome, subscribe to the channel, and I'll really appreciate it. So with that, see you in the next video.